least 45 minutes. Well, you've only got one grade in there, right? Or, well, technically it's 2 grades, but it's from one grade. We'll have to look at it then maybe later, because it's, I mean, the first quiz is in there. Let's see. So I'm not going to do that review yet. We're going to go straight to weighted averages. Which may be all the way at the end, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we got to do the distance formula too. Oh, so I guess we don't really have anything in there on weighted averaging. All right, then let me go backwards. Oh. All right, so we'll use this one. This will work. So weighted averages. I'm showing you exactly what it looks like on the quiz right now. So I'd make sure I was taking some notes. I give you a line on a graph. I give you the coordinate of the endpoints. So I think I label them with letters. So A is, what is that? -8, 4. So there's 1 point, and then the other point is 7, 9. And I call it B probably, that's my guess. And then it's not, this is not the problem. This is actually the one I use for the partitioning lesson, but so I say in the problem, find point P and I say if, and I'm going to make this a lot more difficult for this one than it is actually even on the quiz. I say find point P if point A weighs, remember that's where you're going to get your weight from, 5 times as much as point B. And I'll read that out if you can't remember. So, hold that thought. So again, I say find, now this is I have an easier version of this where it's just a number line. I'm showing you the coordinate plane one because I don't think we got to that in class, or if we did it really fast. So find point P if point A weighs 5 times as much as point B. So what's the first thing you know about it? Just logically thinking through it. I always like to come up with, well, where do I think my answer might be? So we do have the coordinates, so that is something you have to know. So one thing you need to realize as soon as you see the fact that it's on a coordinate plane, not just a number line, I'm going to have to go through the process twice. Because I'm going to have to go through the process using the x values, which is the -8 and the 7. And then I'm going to go through the same exact process again using the y values, which is the 4 and the 9. So whenever you see a coordinate plane, that's pretty common that you're going to have to do the process twice because you're going to have to get an x value and a y value. So you can probably realize that. But what's the other thing I said? To get a viable solution, what do we do? Get somebody answer. What do I say we like to do? You have a new seat. You sit behind Billy back there. I'm pretty sure. What do we do? How do we get a viable solution for this?
Wait.
Actually, I don't have you sitting. Oh, I already printed these before I moved you, I think. So yeah, you are sitting there. But what do we do? Like, what does the weight mean? What did I tell you weight means? Like, think about when I said either the class grades or when we did line segments. What does the weight mean? So here, if you're not remembering what I said the point with the heavier weight pulls the average, pulls the midpoint really, but it pulls it in that direction. So what we did to estimate is we said, okay, well, and I don't even have to know the exact midpoint, but the midpoint would be somewhere like around here for that line, I'm guessing, maybe a little left of that, but somewhere around there. So if point A weighs 5 times as much, which is a lot, 5 times as much is a lot, it's going to pull this point way down here. Like it might pull it, if it's 5 times as much, somewhere in that range. Maybe not that far. In all honesty, I don't think we've done one with 5 times as much, so I don't know how far that's going to pull it, but it's going to pull it way down. Maybe if I wanted to make a bigger range, maybe in that range, but it's not going to be just right here, and it's certainly not going to be that way. It's going to pull it this way for sure. That's the first thing that you can be thinking about. Use these pins. I wanted to. But... Oh wait, I know what I can do though for now. Okay. All right, so now let's go ahead and do the math. So for a weighted average, we said, bless you. We said that there's this formula with W1, X1, W2, X2. If you have 3 points, W3, X3. I told you though, instead of writing all that out in a whole separate area, just write it directly above or below the points. Right, really with a thing. Hopefully this will all fit in there. So I'm gonna write the weight for A. Oh boy, I erased it. I'm gonna we can erase A was 5 times as much as B. So I'm gonna write the weight for A right here. What is the weight for A? If A is 5 times as much, what's the weight for A? 5. Isn't what A? Remember, the weight comes from the word problem part, not from the numbers, from the word problem part. So A weight was 5 times as much. So they didn't even mention B in the word problem though. So what's the weight for B? This part is the part you need to make sure you make a note on. Or anybody who wasn't here. Yeah, if they don't mention the weight, it's typically going to be a weight of 1. So the weight is 1. So W stands for weight. Whoever wasn't here, Angel, I don't think you were here. Now in the book, I'm going to go ahead and put a little 1 and a 1 here. Oh no, actually that'd be a 2. The 1s and the 2s they're not math. They're just telling us, well, this is the first point. So we put a 1 there because we're thinking of that as the first point. This is the second point. So we just put a 2 there to think of it as the second point. That's all that means. But you don't even really use it anywhere. So now let's talk about the X values. Yeah, I can scroll a little bit at least. What is the X value we're then going to use for point A? Our formula. Christian, what's the X value? Were you here last time? Oh, you need to pay attention too then. So what's the X value for point A? Oh, using the coordinates. Yeah, that's literally all you do. Yeah, it's just you just literally take the X value for that point. So the X value, and again, I'm going to put a 1 there, but it doesn't really come into play. So the X value is -8. What's the X value then for point B? Yeah, it's the first point, or the first number. The X is the first number. So that's all we need to figure out and we're calculating out what is point P. So I'll go ahead and say we're going to have to come up with an X and a Y down there. Hopefully I have room to do all of this. So here's your formula then. We said the formula was you just take the weight and you multiply it times the X value. So I just take the 5 and I multiply it times -8. I'm going to write this. I'm going to go back to the, I can save a little room, hopefully. So I would say 5 times -8. And then I add that to these two multiplied. So again, now I'm just taking the second weight or the weight from the second point and the X value from the second point and multiplying those together. And then what do I put on the bottom? Say it again. Not the x values on the bottom. It's not the x's. We add all the weights to go on the bottom, right? So the weights go on the bottom, the w's. So if I add all the weights up, I have 5 plus 1 on the bottom. And that's my formula. That is going to be the result. Actually, tell you what, I'm going to move that. I think it'll be better if I slide it up instead of going left to right. So we talked about how to do it in a calculator. Just be careful, we said, because the calculator might change the order from what you think the order is going to be if you don't put it in correctly. So we just said, well, to be safe, maybe we should just do each part individually. So in your calculator, say, well, this is 5 times -8. So that's -40. Plus 1 times 7 is 7, divided by 5 plus 1 is 6. Then again, to be safe, we would say -40 plus 7 is -33. So, I don't know why I wrote a 3. So our final answer, hopefully you can see that okay. Our final value for x is -33 over 6. And if you're putting it on the line, like if you're really going to put it on line, which we are, probably is easier to convert that to a decimal. How do we convert something to a decimal? Fraction. Top divided by bottom, right? So if I say 33 divided by 6, that's going to give me -5.5. If you have a calculator, you can check my math. -33 divided by 6. I think that's right, then. Anybody checking that? So now to get the y value, we do the exact same thing. We're just going to use the weight doesn't change. The weight of the point is still the same. We just need to use the y values that are in A and in B. So I'm going to do that one in red, even though I can't find my red pen. So the weight is going to be 5. So I write 5 again. Times, what's my y value I'm going to use for point A? Because I need to use the y value that matches up with 5. So what's the y value? 4, right? Plus the weight over here is still 1. What's the y value there? 9. Now that is still all over the 5 plus 1 because the weights don't change. So if I do the math on that, let me erase this first. I get 5 times 4 is 20. Plus 9 divided by 6. So I get 29 divided by 6. And that's going to give me almost 5. So 4 5/6. So if I convert 4 5/6, that's going to be like 4.84, I think, maybe. Somebody do the math on that one. Is that pretty close? Yeah. And again, if you don't round it perfectly, the key is though, if I go to put that on the graph, it better fall on the line. If it doesn't fall on the line, I did something wrong. Because I'm taking this line and I'm putting a point on the line. So if the math is correct, my point will be on that line, or really, really, really close if I round it off. And I'm hoping it's somewhere in there based on the weights. So let's see. So -5.5 is about here. Positive 4.84 is 1, 2, 3, 4. And sure enough, positive 4.84 is on the line and right in the middle of my estimate. So I feel pretty good about it. Any questions on that? Now, if you have an easier problem where it's not on a coordinate plane, it's just on a line, you would only do the process with just using the endpoints is all you would use. You would just treat it like you're just using the weight and like, I don't have one to show you. Here, I'll show you. We do the same process, only when we did the when we did the math, we would just put the weights up here. So we'll say that's 0.8. So we'd put the weight here and the x here. The weight here and the x here. And then we would multiply whatever the weight was. So let's say if it was still 5 and 1, we'd say 5 and 1. Our x value is just whatever the number is right there. So x would be 3. X here would be 12. And then we just do the same formula. 5 times 3 plus 1 times 12. And then we divide it by all the weights added together on the bottom, which would be 5 plus 1. So they're very similar. Again, that's the kind of thing that takes you from the 3 to the 4, is being able to make adjustments if you need to, even if it's not exactly what we did in class, although we did do both of those. Any questions on that? That's in the word problem. So in the word problem, it said, because I erased that, so I'm glad you said that. In the word problem, it said point A is 5 times, or weighs 5 times as much as point B. So that's how I got the weight. This is 5 times, so this is point A. 5 just comes from the 5 times, and then if they don't mention the weight of the other point, then it's 1. They didn't mention a weight for B, so it's just 1. And it makes sense because this number is 5 times that number, right? 5 times 1 is 5. So it just comes from the word problem itself. Any other questions? That's a good question. I'm sure somebody else's. So really quickly, I'm just going to tell you what people mostly did wrong on the other quiz, the points, lines, and planes, and line segments. Oh man. What is that? Hopefully it reconnects. It's doing that a lot this year. So on the points, lines, and planes. I can't do like a whole full lesson on it. We want to get started. What time do we get out of here? 10:49. Wait. Yeah. We got a lot of time. All right, we're in pretty good shape. So on the points, lines, and planes, the only thing I can really go over relatively quickly is just people were either you were lazy or you didn't read the question. See what I was asking? Because the main mistake was you just didn't answer the question. So if I have a line like that, could be a line in a plane, like I could draw a plane around it if I wanted to. Doesn't matter, it's a line with points on it. So this would be plane. Actually, I guess I'll do the whole example. And I say, name the line. Actually, here, I'll do the exact problem for you. If I say name the plane as many ways as possible, the plane in the figure or whatever the wording is, a lot of you just said, and you got it right, but you didn't answer the question. The question was as many ways as possible, and you guys just put 1. So maybe you knew how to name it the other ways, but you didn't. And I feel like a lot of you probably did know how to name it multiple ways, you just didn't do it. I'm doing the shaded region so we can really truly duplicate what's going on.
Real big issue.
What's that?
What's that the real big issue that we?
That was the main thing, because almost everybody got the first question, the first 3 questions right. Almost everybody. Almost everybody missed the question where I said name it as many ways as possible, because almost nobody did. Even if you missed 1 or 2 of them on the plane, because there were a lot of them for a plane.
Yeah.
Even if you missed 1 or 2 of them for the plane, I gave you a question. If you missed any for the line, you got it wrong. There were only 7 for the line, so you should be able to do that. So how do I name, and I said, even more specifically, I might have said, name the line that is coplanar with plane P as many ways as possible. So which line is coplanar with plane P? So what does coplanar mean, Dylan? And how do we know that? It does mean that, but how do we know it from a two-dimensional image? What did we say we look for? Coplanar means what? John, you know, quickly?
To like to see if it lines up here so that it's on the plane.
But how do we know that?
You know that because it's not going through the plane, it's on it, and the way it shows it, it's on.
Yeah, so visually, what are we looking for? Two ways.
Yeah.
The solid line works. Solid line, when we're talking about a line, now if you're talking about points, you can't use that, but if I ask you about a line that's coplanar, solid line will work. It has to be solid to be coplanar, because otherwise it's showing you that it's going through the plane and there's part of it you can't see. So solid line works. What's the other way though? Christian. This Christian. Which one? I'm gonna have to start calling you low. See low. See low. Calling you see low. I just gave Christian a nickname. See low. I like that. Can't remember that. Maybe all over the school. You got junior, right? You got 1 year. By the end of your senior year, all over the school. See low. I think there's actually a famous musical artist that's called. He was on American Idol, like he was the judge on American Idol. So Christian, now you're a Christian, you're a student. What's the other way? Coplanar, we said, well, if a line is coplanar, it's solid, no dashes, but there's another way that may or may not be easier, depends on, I guess. So where would it be if it doesn't go off the plane, though? I want you to give me the easy version for everybody. How do you know if it doesn't go off the plane? It's in what? In the, you know what I'm going with? What am I going for? If it doesn't go off the plane, it's in the what? But in, how do we know that it's in the plane?
If it's a dotted line.
Shaded area, that's what I was looking for. If something is coplanar, a point, a line, doesn't matter, it's in the shaded area. Everything in that shaded area is coplanar. So all of these points are coplanar. This point is actually coplanar, even though it's on the line that's not in the shaded area. The point itself right there is in the shaded area. Anything in, now this is only for a two-dimensional figure. So just keep that in mind, which is all you're ever really going to see. I don't think there's any way they're going to show you something else. Anything in the shaded area is coplanar. So the line that is coplanar is C, because it's either a solid line or it's in the shaded area. Now, though, you had to know how to name it as many ways as possible, and that's where I think most of you did this. You said, oh, well, yeah, it's in the shaded area or it's solid, so the line is line C. And you wrote that, and that's all you wrote, and you got it wrong. I said, and I circled it on your quizzes, which I was going to get back this week, but since I'm giving you a freebie retake, I've circled on the paper as many ways as possible. So what are the other ways to name that? Nope, we're doing lines.
Oh,
We're still naming that same line just as many ways as possible. So we can pick any two letters and then make, and you did have to do the symbol above. You didn't do the symbol above. That's supposed to be a Y. You didn't do the symbol above. You got it wrong. Because there are other symbols that you could do that mean other things. So you had to show me the symbol. Is that a question? Let me at least get through. Oh, are you not going to be here for the quick?
No, I just want to make sure I know you get my nose.
Like, don't do the tissue.
My nose been like this.
No, you got to take. This is a free retake, but I need you taking that because it can't hurt you. I mean, if you don't do well on it, it doesn't hurt you. So AY is 1. Now here's the ones that some of you missed. Some of you got 3 of them, but you forgot I can also switch the order.
that was the worst part.
So you can also switch the order of every like way to name it. So AY, YA. I'll start writing them over here so that they all stay on the screen. So we'll name some other ones. Start throwing them out. What else? So yeah, AX. Pick a different point with A. What else? Say it again. AC, big different letters. Wait, AC is not a point. C is not a point. So line C works, but C is not a point. It's the actual line itself.
A.
ASB.
S is not on the line, so it's got to be on the line if we're naming the line. So say it again.
XA.
XA would be the other one.
No, but the plane that you
But
gave.
what else can we do? We're not done. What can we do? Nope. A C is not a point, we said. YX would be one. So actually, there's more than 7 here. There we go. That's what somebody's doing. You flip the order of them. Don't forget you can flip the order. So X, Y. We didn't flip the order of these. Oh yeah, we did. I'm sorry. Yeah, we did. So that's it. It should be 7 if there's 3 points on a line.
But the one that you gave us was not just 3 points. It had
On the line it was.
on, did they ask for a certain line? Or did?
Yeah, it only asked you to name one line. It didn't ask you to name 2 lines. Now the hard one is the planes. Planes have a way more. Phone should be up, please, especially today when I'm giving you a freebie. You need to be paying attention. Plane now, if I say name the plane shown in the figure, and I think this is all I did. I said name the plane shown in the figure as many ways as possible. I'm going to zoom out for this because we're going to have a whole bunch of these. And I didn't, if you missed a few of them, I didn't actually even take them off. But for a plane, again, a lot of you said, oh, well, I know, I just take that letter that's in the corner. And that's all you wrote. Again, I said as many ways as possible. So now, how can we name a plane?
A.
Well, let's just talk about the way we name it first before we start throwing letters out. We need 3 points, or it's going to wind 3 points means 3 letters. We always have to write the word plane. So some of you didn't write plane. I took off for that. You just wrote down 3 letters. Now, if you only wrote plane and then you wrote 3 letters once and then you just kept the letters going, I didn't take off for that. But if you didn't write plane and you just wrote the 3 letters, I did take off for that. Or if you just wrote a P and you didn't write plain P, I took off that. You have to be, I mean, that was the whole lesson, like being detail oriented on the naming. Just most of you just didn't do that. I feel like a lot of you will do better if that's the one you're retaking today. So we do 3 letters, but what's important about those 3 points, those 3 letters?
Ones that are used to name the line.
Yeah, I can't, the word is collinear. I can't use 3 points that are on the same line. Or we said, make sure you can make a triangle out of the 3 points. I can't make a triangle out of A, X, and Y. It's a straight line. You have to be able to make a triangle out of the 3 points that you use. And then just like a line, you can always change the order as well. So give me one real quick that we can use, one name. So there's one. I can make a triangle out of those 3 points. Now here's where it got really tricky. Because I have 3 letters I can use, there's all kind of versions of that. I can change the order as many ways as possible and come up with, I think, probably 5 more. So ASX, I'm not going to keep writing plain because there's just so many of them. If you don't, as long as you write it once, I'll be fine with that. So now I can do, I did AXS, ASX, but now I can put S first. And then I could put X first. So there, just with those 3, there's 6 versions of that. So you can see it did. Now, again, be thorough. And even though it takes a minute, write them all down. If you happen to accidentally miss one, it won't hurt you. But if you don't even get half of them, then yeah, I'm going to take off. So now give me another one that I can use. Yeah, again, I really any S with any combination is going to work. I just can't use AXY. So I forget what order you said, but so once you've written plain, I won't take off if you don't write plain again. So there we go. And now I just have to change the order as many ways I can think of. So X, Y, X, put the X first and then do Y and S. Put the X first again and switch those. Then put the Y first and the Y first. And what am I missing? X and the S. So there's another group. And then there's one more group you could do that would be with the S, the Y, and the A. And then you'll have 6 of those. So it came out to be a lot. If you didn't get all of them, then I didn't take off anything. But if you stopped after like 6, then yeah, I took off. You didn't show me you knew all the options. Or if you accidentally used A, Y, and X, I definitely took off. That's wrong, for sure. That's not a matter of missing something. That's wrong. And I took more points off if you did that than I did if you just left some out. Because at least if you, let's say you just did these, you showed me you knew it had to be 3 letters. You showed me you could change order or something like that. You just didn't write as many as you should have. Any questions on that? So that's how to name lines and planes. Boy, there really weren't many people that got both of those questions right. I may have had one person that got full credit on that problem. Let's see, what else? Oh, naming or counting the number of planes was on there. Don't want to give an answer away on it, but I'm going to give you a pretty big hint. If this, and I can't really draw this figure, that's the other tough thing. Maybe I can. Let's see, hold on, let me try to draw a figure and then I'll. That might be good enough.
Rachel.
All right, that's horrible, but that's horrible. We're gonna go with it. So this bottom plane, right, which was attached to this other plane, I think it looks something like this, kind of. And they like drew lines back there to show that it was behind it. That is so bad. Oh well, that's why I teach math, not art. It is still technically a plane. It doesn't have to look pretty. So we had to count the number of planes. Most people did pretty well on just telling me how many planes. Most people did not do well. Well, I shouldn't say most, half maybe. Struggled with whether or not something was coplanar. Coplanar doesn't mean it has to be in this one plane. There are, wait, 6? Yeah, 6 planes in that. So points could be in any of those 6 planes and be coplanar. Now, I'm going to give you a huge hint right here. If the points form one of the sides of the cube, so like, for example, if these 4 points right here were the ones I was asking you about, they're coplanar. It doesn't matter that they're not in this plane. They're in this plane right here. They're the corners of that plane. Remember, the plane technically goes on forever, so they're in that plane. They're one of the sides. If they make up a side of the figure, then they're coplanar because that side is a plane. A lot of people miss that, and you have to be able to explain it. A lot of people just couldn't explain it very well. Or some people didn't even try. You could just say, yeah, they make up that side of the figure. They make up that plane, or they are all on the right plane of the cube, or something. Like, you need to have a decent explanation. If you want to get to like a 4, you can still get a 3 without that. But, and I forget what that was probably the most commonly missed one in the figure like that. Most people got the number of planes correct. There was another question that most people got, which was, I think, also kind of about coplanar. If that was the most commonly missed one on that, because I guess maybe because these 2 points here are not in this shaded region, people maybe thought that they weren't coplanar, or maybe your explanation, you just didn't know how to explain it. So that, any questions on the points, lines, and planes stuff? Got it? Distracted very slowly. Right. And I think that's probably the one most people that will be retaking today. The other one I'm going to do super fast. I'm getting rid of all of that. So line segments was the other one. Combining line segments to figure out like what the total length is, or figuring out what one of the smaller line segments is. If you're gonna go now, I guess. You're gonna miss the, are you doing the points, lines, and planes as your retake? Or are you gonna do, this is the one you need to see then. Are you ready? Because I'm about to do line segments right now. So if we have a line segment, and if I tell you I put point C between A and B, then it's got to go there. That's what between means. But in math, between really means that the length of the left segment, which in this case is AC, that means the length of AC, plus the length of CB. So remember, when you see this, it means the length of that segment has to equal the length of the big segment, AB. That's the whole concept right there. Now, no matter what numbers I put in, if I just put in easy numbers, 2 and 6, well, you just replace AC with 2. So 2 plus CB is 6. So 2 plus 6 means AB would be 8. That's a super easy version. I don't think I gave you one that easy, but that's still always the same concept. Whatever I put here would replace this kind of sort of variable. Whatever I put here would replace that. And then in this case, that case, I would solve for AB. I'm going to go ahead and jump straight to a pretty tough one. I don't even remember how tough I got on the quiz. But if I told you that, and I could show it to you in different ways, I could just write it above the line segment like that. I could write it like this and say, well, AC equals 2x plus 3. So I could write it like that. Doesn't matter. They mean the same thing. That means AC, the length of AC is 2x plus 3. I think I had one problem that was written both ways, so you had to understand that. But the concept is still the same. Oh, and then maybe I make it an even tougher one. And then I say AB equals, and I think I did have one like this, 12x plus 9. Doesn't matter how many variables you have. And if you just got the setup right, you got a C. And there were some other problems on it besides just solving something out. I just replace all of those sort of variables. They're just an unknown at this point. But I would say, well, what is AC? Well, you tell me, what's AC? What do I write when I'm going to go in and replace stuff? Who am I going to have? Dimitri, what do I write for AC? And I'm talking about this AC. I'm replacing this with what AC equals. So what am I going to write? Yeah, I write exactly what I said down there that AC equals. So 2x plus 3. And then I'm going to add to that because that's the formula. So what do I replace CB with? Corinne. I replace it with what CB equals. That 6x is referring to from C to B. And then finally, that's going to equal Ernesto. Yeah, it's going to equal what AB equals because AB is 12x plus 9. And I don't know. So if you just did that, if you got the 2x plus 3 plus 6x equals 12x plus 9, unless you really messed up one of the questions on there that I expected you to know, there was a particular question that if you did mess that one up, you might have only gotten a 60%. But if you got that one right, which most people did, then you got a C. Well, even if you couldn't do anything after that, you couldn't even do the first step to solve it. And then based on how well you solved it from there, moved you from a C to either a B or a. And there were quite a few people that got 100% on this, more than the points, lines, and planes for sure. To solve this out, I'll do it really quickly. First step, for me, there's a bunch of ways to do it. I like to combine the terms that are on the same side. So I would say 2x plus 6x 2x plus 6x is 8x. That's just like having 2 x's and adding 6 x's to it. I still have the plus 3. Over here, I didn't do anything, so I still have the 12x plus 9. If I am solving for a variable, that means I'm trying to get the variable all by itself. Well, if I've got variables on both sides, I can't do that. Messed it up again. Oh, there was a mistake on the quiz, by the way. So I still graded it the way it was with the mistake.
Wow.
It just didn't make logical sense, one of the answers that you got. This one's gonna be that same thing. So I'm glad I did it because now you'll see what'll happen. I need to get rid of that 12x. Or I could get rid of the 8x, I guess. I always get rid of the stuff on the right. How do I get rid of the 12x? I can't just say 12x plus 8x is 20x. They're on opposite sides. You can't do that. So I would say subtract 12x to get rid of it. So again, if that's left and right, subtract 12x, subtract 12x. Still have the plus. Oh, actually, I'm not bringing that down yet. So that gives me negative 4x plus 3. Now you have a two-step equation. Actually, this isn't good. So now what? Now I subtract 3 because I want to get x by itself. Well, I always leave the x term for last, or Miss Thompson tells my algebra kids, you start farthest away from the x. So if this is the x, I start over here. So subtract 3, subtract 3. Negative 4x. So I make sure I divide by the negative. Don't forget to divide by the negative. So I get x is negative 1.5. 6/4 is 1.5. Now here's what a lot of people lost points on. And normally you shouldn't. So here's the mistake that was on the quiz. I didn't change it. So I'm giving you the same quiz actually. So if you get negatives, just keep doing the math with the negatives. Theoretically, we shouldn't have any well, actually, it doesn't matter if x is negative. We shouldn't have any negative lengths, and that would give you a negative length. Like if I take negative 1.5 and multiply it times 6x. Oh, and I wanted to know what is AC. So you had to solve for AC. If I have a negative length, I did something wrong. So you did get a negative length, I think, or you got a number that didn't really make sense on one. I think it was a negative. Just do the math, work through the math. I'm just grading it based on that, even though it really doesn't make sense, the final answer you get. I don't think it confused anybody. So if I get negative 1.5 for x, a lot of people stopped right there. But what did I ask? What was I didn't say solve for x. That wasn't the
Just
question.
solve for each.
Yeah, you've got to then tell me how long is this? How long is that line segment? X is not the length of that line segment. X is only this part of that length of that line segment. So I would have to say, okay, well now I take the x of 1.5, negative 1.5, multiply it by that. Yeah, this one won't make sense either. So if I do this math, I actually am going to come out with something that doesn't really make sense again. That's negative 3 plus 3. So I get AC equals 0, which doesn't really make sense. So you're going to get a negative number that doesn't make sense for a length. Just do the math. Go through, solve for x, plug x back into whichever expression, whichever length I'm telling you to solve for. You get one quiz was fine.
Oh, yeah.
One quiz you did get a negative length, which isn't possible. But just go ahead, go with it. It's still the same process, the same math. Nothing is more complex because of it. The answer just doesn't really make sense. So there's your other one. So we are right on time to start. You're going to have almost, right now it's 50 minutes. I'm going to give you the weighted average one first. Everybody has to do that one. And then as soon as you finish that, and you can use calculators, so if you haven't grabbed a calculator yet, do that. And then you can choose which one you want to take for the second. So as soon as you get it, you can start. I'm gonna start over here. 'Cause I always look at the other side.